How a traffic jam changed my life forever. I've lived in Spain for almost 24 years now, and this is my story. I remember the day it all started as if it was yesterday, especially as it's windy and raining here today in Almeria. See if you can picture this. It's a wet, windy Friday afternoon in November around 4:30 p.m. in the afternoon, and already dark here in Brighton. I'm sitting in a van, stuck in a traffic jam, crawling home after a long day on a building site. I was wet, and so were all my tools after a long day working on a roof. Back then, I was living in Brighton in a nice 3-bedroom house with my first wife. We had both got good jobs, a steady income, and on paper everything looked great. But deep down we were unhappy. We wanted more from life. That week had been the same routine every single day. The same traffic jam, the same cars around me in the morning and again in the evening, sitting at the same traffic lights and the same traffic jam. I spent the day working as a carpenter on a new house build not far from where I was living. Up on the roof in windy, drizzly conditions, wet, cold and tired, and that was my whole week. As the traffic inched slowly forward, a few feet at a time, I started looking through the windscreen. The wipers were working overtime on my van, and the rain was pouring down. I glanced across the road and noticed a large billboard above a shop. I can't remember what that shop was. I think it was probably a travel agent's. It showed a beautiful image of a young girl running along a sandy beach, nice blue skies and a scarf blowing in the wind. The sea stretching out behind her. It was probably some sort of advert for a travel company, I think. I barely remember the brand, but I was fixed on the girl and the beach and the weather, and how different the world looked compared to where I was right at that moment. I found myself daydreaming. What would it be like to be there instead of here? Somewhere warm, somewhere sunny, somewhere that didn't feel like it was endless grind like it was here. Maybe I just needed a holiday, I thought. A week away from the rat race. The traffic moved again, pulling me back to reality. Still another 20 minutes to get home, if I was lucky. Then I thought about the weekend ahead. The weather forecast was awful again. More rain on the way, strong winds for both Saturday and Sunday. So no paragliding for me the weekend. That had been my passion back then, and the weather always dictated whether I could fly or not. So what could we do instead? Go to the shopping centre again, even though we didn't need anything, buying more crap? Or the garden centre, buying plants that would probably die in a few days because it was still winter? As I pulled up to the red light at the crossroads, I looked up, and there it was again, the same poster, the same girl, the same beach. This time it felt like a sign. We didn't just need a holiday. What if we could live somewhere like that? What if we could move there full time? What was it really like there? Was it really a possibility? And if so, what was actually stopping us from doing it? That Friday the traffic was worse than usual. Everyone was desperate to get home on a Friday afternoon, but I couldn't stop thinking, what am I doing this for? I'll be back here in a few days' time, going through the exact same thing. The same work, same place, same people and the same traffic jam, probably under the same grey sky. So I started to feel angry, not at anyone, but at myself. Why couldn't we live somewhere sunny like that? Was it the money? Was it fear? Was it just habit? By the time I reached home, my wife arrived almost the same time as I did. She'd been stuck in traffic too, and stopped off at the shop to buy some milk and bread. She was wet, fed up, and in a bad mood, just like me. As we prepared dinner that night, I finally said it to her out loud. I can't do this anymore. We need a bloody holiday. She looked at me and agreed. Great, where are we going? I hesitated and said, what if we didn't just go on holiday? What if we could go somewhere we actually moved to and stayed there? She looked at me. What if, I continued, we rented the house out for 6 months and moved to a warm country? Just to try it. I expected her to laugh and tell me I was being ridiculous. Instead, she said, great, let's do it. I was stunned. No, I mean it, I said. I'm self-employed and you could get time off work. We've got some savings in the bank. Worst case scenario is we go for 6 months and have a break, get away from it all. OK, she said, let's do it then. That night over dinner and a bottle of wine or two, we turned the TV off and talked for hours about how it might actually be possible. The next morning over breakfast, it started to feel real. Back then, there was no internet like there is today. No forums, no Facebook groups, no YouTube channels to help you, how to explain how you can move abroad. But I remember seeing an advert in the newspaper for a Spanish property exhibition that was being held in Brighton that weekend. We decided to go along. It was an indoor event, it was free, and they promised a glass of wine and some nibbles, so why not? The presentation itself was pretty boring, but afterwards we spoke to several agents promoting different areas of Spain. Some were pushing timeshares, others properties, and we asked lots of questions and gathered brochures and information about moving to Spain and living in Spain. A few weeks later I went to a travel agent in town and picked up some holiday brochures for parts of Spain I'd never heard of before. One place caught my eye, Mojácar. I asked the agent where was the nearest airport. Almeria, she said. I've never heard of it. She showed me photos of Almeria's beaches, long unspoilt sand, sunshine under a blue sky. They looked exactly like the beaches on the billboard I'd seen. I booked a cheap 7-night stay in April at a small hotel near the beach. Officially it was a holiday. In reality it was a scouting mission. While we waited, we prepared the house for renting and also looked into storage, just in case. I even joked with my dad that we were thinking about selling up and moving to Spain. I expected him to be a bit mad at me. Instead he said, if I were younger, I'd go for it too. Go for it. Then the day came. We landed in Spain to sunshine and warmth, everything we'd been craving of. The hotel was pretty basic and old, but clean and perfectly fine. We weren't there to sit in the room anyway. The first afternoon we went out for drinks and food and instantly fell in love with the area. We stayed in Roquetas de Mar, a place I'd never heard of before. That night it rained, then it rained the next day too. We started to panic a bit. Had we romanticised too much? Was this really what we wanted? But on the second to last day everything changed. The sun came out, the sky was deepest blue I've ever seen. No winds, calm and warm. It felt like a different world. That morning we met an English speaking estate agent and viewed a small beachfront property that was up for rent. It was cheap and available immediately. We asked about renting it for 3 months. She said yes, it was available. I mentioned I was a carpenter and builder. She smiled and told me about a bar in town that was run by some expats and they met up every week and that they might have something going on that night. We went along. I spoke to an English guy called Tony who ran a small building company here renovating properties for locals. We chatted all night long over a few beers. He offered me a job at the end of the evening and I took a leap of faith and said yes. We returned to Brighton, packed up the house, put everything into storage, and a week later we were back on a plane to Spain. I started work almost immediately I got back, and that's how my life began. If you want something badly enough, and you take action when opportunities appear, anything is possible. Once you start moving forward, doors open to you that you never thought existed. Today, moving to Spain is easier than ever. The information is out there. The tools are at your fingertips with the internet. The hardest part isn't the paperwork, visas or money. It's stepping out of your comfort zone. And once you do, you often realise it was never that comfortable after all. If this has helped inspire you at all, please leave a comment below and tell us your experiences.
If you have enjoyed this podcast by David Wright, then you will love his new books. Out now on Amazon and Kindle, packed with money-saving tips and information on living and working in Spain.
DavidWrightOnline.com, where all the new information is. Thanks for listening.